They said it was clean, too cheap to meter. Built the dome, then cooked the beaker. Said the rod was safely sealed in drums, but left them leaking out of Idaho slums. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done. They chase the sun, all fusion proud. Ignore the barrels stacked in clouds. Promise stars in every socket, while curium settled in the market. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done. Chart is clean, while whales rolled up beside the submarine. Blame the algae, blame the rain, but never trace the gamma chain. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done. Now the rods are rusting, the record spins. Mama warned them, too many sins. Keep your sun, keep your lab coat pride, till you fix the waste you tried to hide. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done.
Awesome. These reactors melted down on a big scale. My goodness. We've never experienced anything like it before. You had 8 reactors or 8 fuel pools and 4 reactor cores. And we do got more information about the fuel pools tonight from a non-likely source. We'll get to. So when you see one nuclear meltdown, for instance, like Chernobyl, which was tiny compared to Fukushima, they closed 9,400 farms in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom. 9,400 farms. So going to the nuclear wasteland is insane. That's the definition of very, very complacent, I think, is one way to put it. But you're not going to get sick right away. The typical person, they'll get sick 6 months or a year or 2 years later. They'll have a fatal cancers, very rare cancers, or heart, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline. But that's going to be true for wherever the radiation fallout showed up. In the United States and Canada, one study was 1 million atoms of xenon-133 per square meter underground over the entire country and Canada. Another separate study from Canada was 20 million particles of iodine-131 per liter. There's 10 times more iodine-132, 30 times more iodine-133, 31 times more iodine-129, which showed up in another separate study from Ottawa, Canada. There was the cesium-137 at 1 million, 10 million times. So these plumes will have multiple isotopes, but each of these models are based on a certain isotope, but we know that you can't have a single isotope. So imagine how bad it is in Japan, and imagine how bad it is in the ghost towns in the nuclear wasteland. And just because they come out and lie about it, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. That don't mean it's not an event. That doesn't mean it's not important. And we're going to be talking about the soil a little bit tonight. International Atomic Energy Agency says public trust is key to using radioactive soil. But the International Atomic Energy Agency, they admit in all their stories, if you keep reading, you'll see disclaimers. The International Atomic Energy Agency is not a regulator and is not in a position to judge or approve. And so you should never take any advice from them whatsoever. They're actually a nuclear lobbying group for the military-industrial complex known as UN. The radiation covered the whole planet in every study in 20 to 30 days. Imagine how bad it is, because you can't see it or smell it or feel it or taste it or touch it or perceive it or anything else. And, you know, like every nuclear scientist, when they seen that particular picture on the 16th of March 2011, they knew the gig was up. YouTube responds to accusations of sneakily hiding restricted content. But there's more to it. YouTube will start using AI to guess your age. And if it's wrong, that's too bad. You can't get on the YouTube. YouTube addresses creators' concerns that it secretly used AI to edit some videos. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's more than some. YouTube's AI, artificial intelligence editing scandal, reveals the reality, how reality can be manipulated in real time. YouTube is using AI to edit videos without telling anybody. Huh. I wonder, does that explain why my videos, like this live show tonight, won't have any, I won't see any documentation. For the last couple of weeks, we've seen this since they started using the AI. I don't get any numbers until 14, 20 hours later. My comments don't show up for 12 hours. And now I got to use that. Fukushima day trip. James Lucid put out this video last night, and it's about a blogger who went to Japan. And this got a quite an interesting twist to it as of about 20 minutes ago. Fukushima Day Trip. It's a really cool song. I might even play it in a little bit. And I meant to play it actually as the starter, but I found the YouTube editing AI and I kind of got distracted. So he put a link over there to the video that he made this song in a reply to. And, you know, like, you're not going to get much nicer than James Lucid for people. And so he's not exactly slack. You know, there's a lot of work to do what he's doing there. But it's just his way of responding to the madness. He's not hard-nosed like I am. I got some pretty choice words. James, you won't see him using them. Haunting Fukushima exploration, abandoned buildings, nuclear plant, and police confrontation. Nikita aspires at 4,000 subscribers. And she spent quite a bit of time in Japan, and she was driving a new Corvette, compliments of who knows. She was out on the bar and everything, out on night on the town. Tokyo was very expensive. And so she ain't making very much money at 4,000 subscribers for advertisement. So how's she paying for all of this, I wonder? But, and so this was 2 weeks ago. She got 107 views, which is a little odd. She must have said something she wasn't supposed to. She's into the nuclear wasteland, not even wearing a paper suit, not that they can protect you from the gamma shines or nothing, but at least you can, you know, this stuff is not in your hair and your eyebrows, not getting up your nose and breathing it. And you're in a nuclear wasteland, for goodness sakes. But at the end of the video, she said, because I think I got radiation from it and my camera equipment is, I think she was trying to say malfunction. It was hard to pick out what she was saying. AI couldn't even grab it. It was kind of like, I took it as a really dishonest joke. Like she was making fun of people worried about radiation. That was my take on it. The thing I got radiation from in my cabin equipment is fried. It was sarcasm, though. You can hear it in her voice when she said it. And I said to myself, and here she's taking a bow in a nuclear wasteland. Thank you for giving me poison. I'll let you know how it works out in 3 or 4 years. Not very clever at all. Not very clever at all. Despite the emptiness, the beauty, she said, in the decay. No pun intended, I guess, is it? What do you think? What do you think? I done it wrong, did I? Okay, sorry. There's no irony in saying beauty in the decay when there's no beauty in the decay for the people who own those homes, or for the isotopes won't decay for millions of years. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder who paid her for it. Unfortunately, James beat me to that comment. There's no irony in saying beauty in the decay when there's no beauty in the decay for the people who own those homes. No, exactly. But the irony was in the fact that, I'll show you, his comment, you can see it right here. His comment, when I went over to the video, I went over to her video and her comment is gone. And I said to her, why did you remove James's comment? He did a song about your video. I screen captured the comment. Right, and we did. She removed it. And we'll show it in my live show that starts in 20 minutes. This is like 26 minutes ago. 4 minutes before we went live, I was listening to his song again. This really catchy song he put out. But it was in response to a moron who went to a nuclear wasteland who thinks that they have a moral compass but doesn't. Oh, that's James Deere. Hang on. Hi, James.
Oh, I got it. I just went ahead and deleted it. I got so sick and tired
Just
of her.
hang on. I can't hear you.
I'm like, you're not going to buy. You're not going to tell me anyway. So that's me. I just got so irritated.
Hang on. I cut you off.
I cannot believe.
Go ahead.
I just cannot believe this woman. I mean, she's such a victim, right? Like,
Yeah, she
whoever
is.
Put her up to this.
You know what I heard? I'm going to cut you off for 1 second. I heard that people that take money to go into the nuclear wasteland are paid pretty good. But TEPCO gets control over those videos, the comments on those videos. That's what I've heard a while back. I don't know if it's true. Go ahead, James. I'm sorry. By the way, folks, this is the guy whose comment was removed. So he has a right to have a say. Go ahead.
Well, let her stew on that, like get her confused that, like, what's going on here? Like, why is this? Because, again,
why is this a thing,
all
right?
her other the other content just, like, about ridiculous stuff, and then all of a sudden she's going to Fukushima, and then you look at her thumbnail, she's got the gas mask, it's like she's trying to play fun with it.
Yeah, that was pretty disrespectful to the victims. Go ahead, James.
It's like somebody had to told her, like, hey, we like what you do, why don't you grow your channel and go to Fukushima? People might like that.
Grow a tumor. Yeah.
That's all it could be.
It's crazy. And then she removed her comment. I guess you didn't know that.
No, I did it. I just deleted it. That's what I called you about.
Oh, because you deleted it. Okay, because, yeah.
I deleted it because I was, like, so sick and tired of just thinking about her, right?
Yeah, and I forced you to talk about it. Way to go, Dana.
Right. Yeah, now it's all well, whatever, because it should bring something up, because it's like, everything's suspicious anyway, but
yeah.
The fact that she she's probably confused because it's like, why is there so much attention on it? She probably had no idea that there's anyone out there that's even aware.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was just being sarcastic. I thought I would figure it would be a knee-jerk reaction for a kid like that to pull the comment, right? Because she did take money, and that's why she pulled the comment. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm going to pull my comment.
I should have not have done that. You're right. I wasn't even thinking.
No, that's okay.
Just like,
it's just bad energy. You want to get away from it, walk away from it, right? Yeah.
Right.
That's a good thing, man.
Sad.
That's a good thing.
It's so sad because if you look at her, she's definitely of she's got to be in her mid-20s. Her biological clock's just ticking away. Her cellular reproduction's rapidly going crazy, and she's in that environment.
Yeah,
and it's just
it's
like
a terrible
it's heartbreaking.
thing.
Like how could doctors see something like that and not say anything?
Yeah.
And speak up, like, we really shouldn't have. I mean, the Tide Pods are bad, but we really shouldn't have this trend to go out there. Come on, I mean, this is crazy.
No, I mean, my goodness, right? Yeah. That's well said, buddy. That's well said.
Anyway, I just.
It's all good. I just removed my comments, so don't feel bad.
yeah, let it be. Let it.
Yeah, I'll just walk. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Just going to walk away. Okay, buddy. Anything else?
Walk away from it. That's it.
Okay. Okay, buddy. Loves you. Take care now.
All right. Thanks so much,
okay.
Dan.
You're welcome. Yeah, love you too, buddy. Yeah, bye-bye. That was James Lucid. Hey, we both kind of... now I forced him to call in. I feel bad about that too, but I can't win them all. That's the way it goes sometimes. I think that's leaning on my. I'm gonna have to fix that because I'll get background. I'll get background every time I touch the table if I don't fix that. So just give me 1 second. These two, yeah, okay. I'll be right back. Okay, that should work. That should work for me. Hang on here. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I kind of jumped the shark on that last one. My apologies to everybody. Just keep it rolling. That's the way it rolls around here sometimes. Yeah, I'm just saying, and I did think that was an unusual comment for James, to tell you the truth. He was having a Dana moment, see? That's really something like I would do. Potentially radioactive metal stolen from Fukushima. What do we got going on in the background, I wonder? Let me check something. There's an extra sound that shouldn't be there. Oh! That's my apologies. Did I accidentally turn up the silent Dana? It was just on that clip, I think, hopefully. Yeah, the rest of them are okay. Who knows with me? Okay, we're good to go. Let's try it again here. Potentially radioactive metal stolen from Fukushima. This story is 2023. So I don't know why that showed up in the search. Usually it's because they removed something from them, right? Potentially radioactive metal stolen from Fukushima. This is gonna, they were building the so-called releases from the tanks, which was a scam, right? That's what you're looking at there. big question is, why is there all these steel plates? Let me fix whatever the hell I got done here. There you go. See the steel plates? That's usually highly radioactive areas. The only time they're going to use steel plates. Construction workers stole and sold potentially radioactive scrap metal from, I'm not sure if it was Akuma or Fukushima, which is right alongside both sides of the nuclear site. The material went missing from a museum being demolished in a special zone around 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles from the atomic plant. 2.5 miles, a special zone. A special zone. Although people were allowed to return to some areas after intense decontamination work, intense. Yeah, I bet it was. The reactor's still melting down. You can't decontaminate that place anyway. Radiation levels. Just bear with me here. Radiation in the nuclear wastelands and the 2 communities attached to the site are going to be pretty shocking. It's surrounded by a no-go zone. So they got this little section in a nuclear wasteland where they say it's safe because the people they're doing it to don't know the difference, right? And they're just going on what, somebody in a suit tells them, or with tattoos most likely, and then from the Yakuzas. If radioactivity levels are high, metal from the area must go to an interim storage facility or be properly disposed of. Listen, their version of properly disposed is not good. If low, they can be reused. You can't reuse man-made contaminated materials. And just because they change the designation of the material doesn't mean it's safe, okay? It can't be safe if it's man-made because we don't have an autoimmune trigger. There's no species with an autoimmune trigger to defend against it. So all species will attack the damage coming from it with white blood cells. And so that's an instant effect and it's permanent. You won't be able to perceive it, but you might start feeling fatigued or even worse. Stolen scrap metal has not been measured for radiation levels. That really gives you insight. They're in a nuclear no-go zone that's been abandoned for over a decade because everything is radioactive with fuel particulates from the detonations. So everything is absorbed radiation too. Nothing in those communities should ever be used. Nobody should ever live in the communities. They sold a scrap metal for about $6,000. So I'm assuming it's aluminum is what they're talking about, or stainless steel. Numerous areas, there's a hospital in Fukushima that was gutted. Right? There was a couple of not Josh, but the other idiots exploring this hospital with no kind of protection whatsoever. And he went back a few years later and all the operating theaters and everything is gone. All the x-ray machines, the CAT scans, all of it's gone. So that was sold to somebody else somewhere else. There's 300 cops used to guard these communities to keep you out. And or there's 300 died, rather, guarding those communities from radiation sickness, kidney failure and stuff like that. Numerous areas around the plant have been declared. So that was kind of, like, just go back to that blogger we were talking about earlier. That was a knee-jerk reaction for me. And when I seen the comment it wasn't there anymore, I assumed that she removed it because a lot of people removed my comments. A lot of people. Or, they're removing my comment, one or the other. But I comment on a lot of videos over the years. And when I go back, it's pretty rare to see my comment is still there. It's very rare. And so I got kind of a prejudice. I apologize to anybody I offended with a knee-jerk response. I do that sometimes, right? Yeah, it turns out the enzymes is better than the spray. Go figure, right? And when the show was over last night, I went out and sat down in the chair. I didn't turn the studio off, and I passed out. And I woke up 7 a.m. Oops. That's unusual for me. That was hard to get everything to work yesterday. Just a bad day for me. With just 2.2% of the prefecture still covered by a no-go order. No-go. It's supposed to be a nuclear wasteland no-go zone order. They call it no-go order. Who's going to figure out what a no-go order means? The arrogant scum that write that stuff. Japan began releasing to the Pacific Ocean last month, so this was 2023, September, more than 1 billion liters of wastewater that have been... This is not wastewater. This is not collected. There's nothing in the tanks. Everything's going straight into the ocean because it's fuel particulates. If you put it into a tank, it sinks to the bottom. You'll have a chain reaction on the bottom. And you can't build any other tanks in proximity because remember, multi-millions of sieverts per tank. It's not going in the tank. You can't filter this kind of stuff. It doesn't work that way. Like if the Siri system, the Arriva system, the ELF system, the Curry system, water filtration systems work, you would see them show up everywhere and they would still be there today talking about those systems that they stopped talking about 2 weeks after they announced they were using it. So 1,000 tanks, when you count 1,000 tanks, just 750 is the most we've seen. Plant operator TEPCO says the water is safe if you backed by the UN atomic watchdog. What do you take of the UN atomic watchdog? United Nations is not a watchdog. They don't have the authority or anything else. They're not a regulatory agency for any place on the planet. They're a military-industrial complex, and calling atomic energy harmless is their hobby. How can they be the arbiters of facts? Yeah? I hurt my head that time. Japan places Fukushima contaminated soil in central Tokyo. Central Tokyo's flower beds. So wait a second. You had 30 million one-ton bags. What do you think? I guess the question is, why would you pick up 30 million one-ton bags if it was good enough to use in flower beds? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either, to tell you the truth. But Japan places Fukushima contaminated soil in central London flower bed. It's literally stupid because they picked up 30 million. They made 16 million one-ton bags disappear. Decontamination soil contaminated with radioactive material. But this is unusual to see him actually put those connotations there. Somebody had pains to conscience, I guess. The move is being interpreted as an attempt to overcome the public's resistance and reignite a discussion on the reuse of the nuclear fallout. This is nuclear fallout at over 100,000 atoms a kilogram. What do you think about that? It's not acceptable for use anywhere else on the planet. Why is it acceptable in stupid Japanese land, I wonder? That's a great question, actually. I can't actually beat that question, so let's keep rolling. It's the stupid. Now, you're not going to put, I think they said there was 38 tons. They're not going to put 38 tons in this, are they? Is that what they're up to? You know, when it rains, that stuff will just get splattered out. It'll eventually just weep out of the ground. All the soil they're going to put soil on top of it. That's going to become radioactive too. It's not just cesium in the radioactive fallout. They picked up 30 million one-ton bags of that radioactive fallout. Burying a decontamination soil, the soil from decontamination. The soil, it's not decontamination soil, it's radioactive fallout that landed on the soil, right? And so the official story where they were scraping up an inch or something, or the top centimeter, and recently they changed that narrative to the top 2.5 centimeters. I'm going to keep it together here for a bit longer. I'm just, here we go. So the poll tonight was, should Japan store the millions of one-ton bags of radioactive fallout rather than use it in farms? Does that sound like a crazy idea? Apparently it's a crazy idea. This marks the second instance of decontamination soil being used outside the nuclear wasteland itself. At that time, 2 cubic meters out of 30 million were laid in a 2 meter by 2 meter area and covered with regular soil and grass. And so why not store it? Is that stupid? They can take a big mine shaft in a nice area and they can just store it and cap it with cement or something. Why is it necessary? Why did you spend $48 billion, basically? Isn't that what they spent? We covered that like last month or something. Targeting surrounding homes and farmland. So they moved people back into the homes, said it was clean, and told the farmers to refarm the land because they picked up some topsoil, therefore everything is good. Radiation is different than any other pollution. It's different. And putting some of it in a bag means nothing when we're talking about the scope of fallout that affected that area. The Japanese government enacted a law stating that the decontamination soil would be permanently disposed of outside of Fukushima. Rather than storing it, they said, well, we're going to send it somewhere else. And nobody's like, well, why don't you just store it? No, that's crazy. We're going to use it for farms and places somewhere else. Yeah, but why not store it? It's radioactive. You spent $48 billion, you morons. $48 billion. Why would you want to use it again? The current amount, anywhere else on the planet, would be illegal. The current amount of decontamination soil stored is 14.1 million cubic meters. So what happened to the other 16 million cubic meters, the 16 million tons? Where the hell did that go? The criteria was a minimum, and they're only looking for cesium-137 on top of that, but a minimum of 100,000 atoms per kilogram. So the Geiger counters that are looking for cesium won't find gammas, alphas, and neutrons, and betas besides the cesium or the cumulative effects of that. They won't find that. It's a complete, what they've done is so evil, it defies any logic whatsoever. And that the world's nuclear industry sat in silence and allowed it to happen is even more nuttier. Soil can be used in public facilities at 8,000 atoms or less per kilogram. That's 500,000 per square meter. 185 used to be an evacuation zone. Now 500,000 is considered okay. You people are just because you had a big accident don't change the dynamics of the poison. The radioactive fallout is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison by the atom. By the atom. And the concentration in the soil for that project, according to the meatheads, is 4,000 atoms, which is half the standard. The standard is based on lunatic assertions. Right? You see how that whole dynamics has just changed? Well, they had a standard 8,000 atoms. Who standard? What standard? There's nobody else on the planet with that standard or even anything that looks like it. The standard for food used to be 0.1 atom per kilogram, 1 becquerel per, which is an atom will pulse of energy each second. That's the becquerel. What do you think? Do you think these people are insane, or do you think these people are insane? The criteria for the soil was 100,000 becquerels per kilogram. How can it decay in just 14 years to 4,000 becquerels per kilogram? And at 4,000 becquerels per kilogram, you're still talking about 250,000 atoms per square meter. It's simply not safe. Yeah, no, it can't be safe. It doesn't have the ability to be safe. This attacks everything with replicating cells. If it's in your body attacks it for the rest of your life with white blood cells, a single atom, and eventually builds a tumor around it. It'll attack it every second for the rest of your life with white blood cells. So when you cut your finger, for instance, all your joints, not just your spleen, but all your joints produce white blood cells. And they're the mechanics. And they come out and repair the damage cut on your finger with white blood cells. They rebuild everything and they fix everything and make everything nice again. A few days later, everything is good. Pick your nose and flick it just as far as you could before you cut your finger. But with radiation, the white blood cells, which for every white blood cell you displace in a red blood cell that carries oxygen nutrition. So for the rest of your life, you're producing white blood cells to attack that radiation. And it piles onto it, eventually builds a tumor on it. Recovery of Fukushima fuel debris is a step towards distant decommissioning goals. This was 2024, so why did that story show up? Because they edited something. Oh, and so this was about a gram, less than a gram, actually. Right, there was just, they spent $40-something million in the United Kingdom and Japan building this contraption that goes like that. It goes, and they drop that down in towards where the nuclear fuel is spread out in the reactors, the story. And it does this like with a set of blindfolds on. And they bring it back up and bring it in. And hopefully they got something there, some part of the fuel. And they're only looking to get, like the first time they got something the size of a grain of rice. They changed that narrative later to a raisin. About 6 days later. We made fun of it every day. And then 2 years later, they done it again, and they got less than a gram. And James Lucid actually wrote a song about that, less than a gram. I'm going to play that song because that's what I do around here sometimes. A little intermission. It's a fantastic song. If you've got headphones on, you should listen to it on headphones. This is less than a gram about a song that was wrote exactly about that right there.
Right beside old Unit 3 sits a shell-marked waste you see. Tanks of resin stacked with care, holding what the pumps caught there. TEPCO field 2 plans to show. One says yes, the other no. Each awaits a coming call. Neither clears the path at all. They say when the work might get underway, decommission down the line, mid-century's hopeful sign. 880 tons remain, none retrieved from three's domain. They debate what space to claim, still the Buildington stays the same. Less than a gram, that's what they've got from Unit 2, a careful shot, not from 3, not from 4, still they work around the door. Less than a gram, still asking for
Less than a gram. Such a great song, man. What a classic, eh? It's just amazing. Yeah. So, sample will reportedly be analyzed by specialized organization. Okay. So we need a specialized organization to deal with this less than a gram, but you let thousands and thousands of homeless and destitute and victims of society and the immigrants who don't speak the language go into the nuclear wasteland without that expertise. You're disgusting people. I can tell you that much in the nuclear industry. You really are. Well, you're not really people, are you? No one would do that to another human, for goodness sakes. It should be considered an important step. There should be a trial to convict you people and put you away for the rest of your lives, you lunatics. You could have got your samples here. You could have got your samples in the United States or Canada if you really wanted to. Less than a gram. Without action, there remains a risk of radioactive material leaking out of the reactor. Leaking out of the reactor. I got no concept of how anything is going to get out of that building. Does anybody see any way to something could leak out of that? Anybody got any ideas? This is the media pretending they're 100 feet above the stump to your left. Dishonesty is just the criteria to even put an application in to work for the nuclear industry. The fuel debris retrieved this time was 5 millimeters long and weighed 0.7 grams, less than a gram. 40, that's a good $40 million, Dana. But you didn't need that. You had all the grams you wanted right there. The delay came from difficulties in developing equipment that could endure high radiation levels. Like calling whatever that contraption is equipment is absurd. It's absurd to call that contraption. If you took the same piece of equipment, which is about, look at the size of my hands, and it goes like that. If you took it and put duct tape around it and dropped it down like a fishing line, plop, reel it back up, you would have got grams and grams of grams. But it's all about bullshit. The industry's just, it has an agenda, it has a narrative, and it's what it does is just keeps regurgitating the narrative over and over and over till everybody gets sick and walks away. The sample will reportedly be analyzed by a specialized scumbag that nobody will ever know exists. This should be considered an important step, except that it's not. The buildings are actually gone, for goodness sakes. That's why the media is pretending that they're on top of it. As workers perform more tasks in the future in and around the reactor. No, there is no reactors. They're gone. No one's going in the buildings. There's a nuclear meltdown. My goodness. Or around it, where radiation levels are extremely high. Yeah, that's where they send the homeless. That's the norm with the nuclear industry. It hates everything, every species, every bird, every puppy, every creature on the entire planet. They absolutely despises it. I gotta get the current decommissioning process, which officially planned to complete by 2051, was formulated 9 months after the meltdown. Under normal circumstances, decommissioning of a reactor takes 30 or 40 years. I know lots of reactors that took 60 years. And they didn't melt down. The decommissioning of the reactors is closely related to the future vision of the nuclear wasteland's recovery. You can't recover a nuclear wasteland. Every flower is producing radioactive pollen. Every tree is radioactive fruit, radioactive. So the species that migrate through these areas are getting terrible, like a terrible future for them, and their offspring will fail to reproduce. If the process becomes a pie in the sky, the distrust of those who care about their hometowns will not be resolved. Why would you, like, if the nuclear wasteland is your hometown, are you going back, right? Is anybody who knows anything about radiation going to go back? No. Japan places Fukushima contaminated soil in central Tokyo Flowerbed. Central Tokyo Flowerbed. I don't know what to make of it sometimes, personally. Why would you go back to a nuclear wasteland? Why would you do that? Because somebody tricked you. It's the only reason you'll ever do something like that, because someone deceived you and manipulated you and don't care that your children and your friends and your families will get sick and die from that exposure. No, they really don't care, right? They just don't care. Why would you go back to a nuclear... Right. I wouldn't go back. I'm pretty crazy. I wouldn't go back to a nuclear wasteland. What would be the point of going back into a nuclear wasteland? It's stupid. International Atomic Energy Agency led team. So they didn't go there forever, right? It's their first time in like 14 years or something they went there. So for the water samples, even if it is true that they are taking samples, it's the first time in 14 years. They've never went there and done it in the first 14 years. What do you think that really means? It means they're scumbags, obviously, and that they shouldn't be involved in anything to do with the nuclear industry. I mean, theoretically, they should be removed from the nuclear industry, period. They're not watchdogs. They're not regulatory agents. They're a corporation like McDonald's that have, through hook and crook and through bribery and blackmail, have infiltrated 195 countries. It's UN, right? IAEA, UNSCLEAR, ERPA, the IPRC, whatever. They're all the same people on each of those committees. It's the same people. So they got the Japanese flag there for now. They got the moral high ground, so we can't talk about them. International Atomic Energy Agency led a team of international experts. They didn't go there for the first 14 years. Why didn't you go there and measure it 14 years ago and have a baseline, you piece of shits? That marks the 5th mission since 2023. They never even went to Fukushima before 2023. And we don't even know if they actually went there then. Carried out on there the degenerate additional measures. But they're not a regulatory agency. I played that for you. I showed you that earlier. I got my voice stripped here tonight. It's the first good news anybody got in a long time, probably. And transparency with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Measures the concentration levels of the water by third parties. Well, I'll give him credit. At least he didn't mention the word tritium in this story. That's a first. Processed through the ALPS liquid processing system, which of course doesn't exist. Like, they built it to manipulate you. You can't filter fuel particulates from water. How are you going to change the fuel filter? And then after 20 minutes, the radioactive material going in one side will come out even heavier the other side of the filter. You can't filter this stuff. That's why they were talking about the Riva system, the Siri system, the Curie systems. Right? And even them didn't work. They can't work. February, it's not, like, every atom's the same size. You can't filter something when every atom is the same size on top of that. Right? Do you get it? February, International Atomic Energy Agency Director Scumbag Grossi presided over the additional measures to collect water samples in the vicinity. How come he wasn't there for, them people didn't go there for the first 14 or first 12 years? Right, and then and we got their narrative. Their original narrative was they didn't collect water. They just verified the samples given to them from TEPCO. That was their original narrative from 2023. Now they're like, well, we're getting samples because we mocked the living shit out of them. And we were hoping they would do something stupid like that. So if you look up Fukushima radiation in Pacific Ocean, you'll get the picture to your left, which is NOAA's tsunami model. But this is NOAA's actual radiation model based on the 30th of March, 2011, on day 19. But all the scumbag, disgusting, parasitic media and control opposition was there promoting the other one. Water above 1 sievert per hour, that was per liter. So you filter a liter, if it works, you got 1,000 sieverts in the filter. You can never get near it again. The pipes bringing it will have thousands of sieverts. If they're not 6 feet thick, you get sick, your organs melt. I'm trying to keep the show going, but my throat is stripped really bad, eh? Samples collected during today's mission will be analyzed by participating laboratories including the China Institute for Radiation Protection, the Korean Institution for Nuclear Safety, and an Environmental Radioactivity Laboratory in New Zealand. What? What do you take in New Zealand going there? Since when did New Zealand become an expert in radiation fallout, nuclear meltdowns, and everything else? How the hell did they get involved in that? Shame on them for participating. Yeah, no kidding. Shame on them. Yeah, indeed. I agree wholeheartedly. Moscow State University in Rushki banned the food from all those areas. But no, there's nothing in the water. Have a nice day. The Spiel Laboratory in Switzerland, scumbags. I mean, they closed a freshwater fishery for 30 years, for goodness sakes, after Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a paper towel compared to Fukushima. I can tell you right now, Chernobyl was brutal. It was nothing compared to Fukushima. And the idiotic moron International Atomic Energy Agency, Marine Environmental Laboratories in Monaco. And all international laboratories involved are members of the stupid, degenerate International Atomic Energy Agency, right? Right? If you're involved with the International Atomic Energy Agency, it means you're worthless. It means you're a subhuman species. It means you hate 8 million species in humanity. It means you're a traitor. That's pretty heavy stuff there, Mr. D. I gotta agree with you, unfortunately. All international laboratories involved are the degenerate International Atomic Energy Agency themselves. And we lose the planet and all the species because the world is powerless and refuses to get educated, refuses to have a conversation. It's just heartbreaking, unfortunately. I'm doing the best I can, and the people that come here are probably doing the best they can. But I mean, you know, you got all these people that'll go to universities, get incredible degrees, like PhD in this, and blah, 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 and that, and blah, 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 and this. And eventually the nuclear industry will snatch them up and use them as puppets. But there are people who go there to get degrees, to get a job, to come out, and whether it's from the International Atomic Energy Agency or whoever, to get that job so they can lie to you. That's how they get the job. Incredible degrees. Incredible pedigree. They come from amazing families. They had everything they could ever want growing up. And then some. And then stab everybody in the back every time they perform their job. I don't understand that, right? I don't know why people would choose to do that particular job. I can't rationalize it for the life of me. TEPCO begins the 15th millionth. Did you say 15 million or something like that? So I think what TEPCO meant was the 15th millionth water discharge, actually. I think you're right. That was funny when you said it earlier. When you look at this site here, you can see reactor 5 and 6 tucked up there in the corner. They're quite a long ways away from reactor 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And the common spent fuel pool was right behind reactor 4. Reactor 6, all the pictures were redacted from 736 mystery pictures released from a drone in 2021, in January. And the common spent fuel pool was completely pixelated out. You can't treat water from a nuclear meltdown. You simply can't do it. But if you keep putting it in a story like that, it's meant for one thing and one thing only, was brainwash and social engineering. That's how they do it with social engineering. It's subconsciously, just glancing at it, that those words will have an influence over people who are not paying attention. TEPCO can't bring the contaminated water issues under control at Fukushima. Well, like, when you call it treated, that's not very honest. I think everybody in the nuclear industry should be treated for mental illness and then put in an institution for the rest of their lives. A few other things you can't say in public. Maybe Big D can start saying this stuff. TEPCO is unable to bring contaminated water issues under control at Fukushima 2014. And guess what they're talking about? The ELPS system. The ELPS, not only was it yet to function reliably, they didn't have it finished until 2015. Well, they kept putting it off because they knew that once they said it was finished, then they would expect it to perform. And they knew that wasn't happening. The AREVA system, the French government, that's the French government. AREVA is the French government, who went bankrupt after this, by the way. Didn't even turn their system on because of the same issues. Has been unused and kept out of operation. They're going to build a groundwater bypass for the water coming down the mountain. They were going to catch it and pump it around the site directly into the ocean so it didn't wash all the radiation in the site out into the ocean. Of course, that didn't happen. They were going to build a fence. Like, you could build a fence for radiation, can you? I never heard that one before. And that didn't work, of course, because that's as stupid as it gets. TEPCO's ice wall won't meet expectations, they say. Really? The ice wall won't meet expectations. No, turns out they had 260,000 people work on the so-called ice wall. 260,000. Try to wrap your mind around that statement. How big of a lie that actually is. Why would you build an ice wall when you can build a real wall? Which probably would have worked. Freelance journalist in Japan. Fukushima government is dumping tons of radioactive mud from decontamination to rivers at night. Fukushima workers reported dumping radioactive water from the beginning. The workers, when you hear the word worker at a nuclear meltdown, it's the homeless and the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants. Let me see what I'm doing here. Hi, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Hope you're doing well. Severe censorship again tonight, do we? Residents forced to dump nuclear waste in parks and forests. Like, if you're cleaning up nuclear waste on your property, you're sadly, horrifically incompetent. You don't clean up radiation, you run away. You'd be happy. You only get to live once. It sucks, I know. But think of radiation contamination as a freak of nature storm. Destroys everything on your property, you can't go back. Everything got washed away, there's nothing left to go back to. Think of it that way. And be happy that you're still alive and that you got some of your health. You can't go back to a nuclear wasteland. So when you see, like, residents forced to dump nuclear waste in parks and forests, this is just literally, this is Reuters. It's literally the cruelest thing conceivable. That people were picking up their own radiation and their topsoils and stuff. And they're incredibly contaminated homes. You can't live in those homes. Radioactive force of permanent risk got to be cut down. You don't go back to these communities. These are not villages. These are death machines. It's just horrific how evil the industry actually is. Radioactive rain caused 130 schools in Korea to close, but rain in California had 10 times more. So it's okay to work at the nuclear meltdown, but you can't go to the school because tiny amount is showing up. I got it. Nuclear is disgusting no matter how you try to comprehend it. Cesium, as if that's the only isotope that ever come out of Fukushima or anywhere else, levels are spiking in unusual high amounts. And Tokyo, up to 300,000 atoms a kilogram. That's the home to their drinking water for 36 million people. This is madness, boy. Tokyo should have been abandoned, still should. There's just tens of thousands of people left Tokyo, left Japan, and never came back since Fukushima. They were employees of family of the employees of the nuclear industry who got the call saying, go, just get out of this country right now. And it was probably too late for them. I mean, they got one street there in the first year where 7 people dropped dead. In the first year, there was 865,000 extra cancers, excess cancers. Not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. Cancer is not the only illness or disease or autoimmune deficiency or injury that's going to manifest from the contamination by any shape or forms. The whole story is a nightmare. And they just keep making it worse. They were burning the radioactive fallout in incinerators right across the entire country. I thought Japanese were smart. I didn't know they were morons. Because that's what a moron will do, see? Oh, listen, you can't destroy it by burning it. Like to separate it in the plutonium mixed oxide fuel, it's boiled in nitric acid at 3,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Do you really think burning it is going to get rid of the isotope and destroy it? It's insane to even consider that. But anybody with no knowledge might accept that, unfortunately. Almost everybody does. Clearly everybody in Japan does. The politicians let it happen. The police sat in silence and let it happen. The people that knew better in the universities and institutions sat by in silence. It's just, how the hell did we ever get into this position that everybody got to turn their back on the most important thing in human history? How does that work? Should Japan store the millions of one-ton bags of radioactive fallout rather than using it on farms? 12 viewers, really. 15 likes on a show I've been doing 5 days a week for over a decade straight. Do you think that's normal? See, the stuff I show you here on this show, you're not going to see anywhere else on the planet. You're not. That's the most terrifying statement to me imaginable. Besides this one, Fukushima reactor site engulfed by steam, or like something like steam, is the reactor core just at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, consuming everything handy to it as it burns itself down into Earth. And that's coming up where the Earth cracked open because some of it came in contact with water. And it doesn't need oxygen to burn. See, it'll burn forever. It doesn't need oxygen. If it's on the ocean floor, it'll burn away forever, releasing isotopes forever. High levels of radioactive material in the slag. Slag is sewage that's dehydrated. So in order to get 170,000 atoms a kilogram of dehydrated, evaporated sewage, you had to release probably 5 times as much back into the environment by heating it up. The industry is insane. And they're counting on people not understanding. It's not illegal to poison you with radiation. That's how much control they have over the facts. It's not illegal to poison you with radiation. 5,000 nuke plant workers. These are the homeless, the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants who don't speak the language. Local government to consider testing residents. Nearly 5,000 nuclear plant workers suffering internal radiation exposure. I know what you're saying is that, Dana, it's impossible. They had paper suits on, Dana. You're fear-mongering, Dana. Well, the only way, 5,000 paper suits a day, you got to burn in the incinerators, releasing that radioactivity back into the environment. Because that's their official story, is they're burning the suits. Because we raised the question a lot of, well, where's all the paper suits being stored every day? Because 5,000 paper suits. There's a lot of paper suits. They're Tyvek. They can't protect you at a nuclear meltdown. Look, the radiation is so intense on that site, it melts your organs. It melts your organs. Do you really think a suit of any type is going to protect you from that kind of energy? That can do it through 4 feet thick of wood or dirt, say, and still destroy your health. Do you really think a suit or a paper suit? Well, the homeless are given paper suits. They're the sacrificial for the nuclear industry, and they'll kill every one of them they can get their hands on. If we do nothing, even Tokyo could become off limit. It is off limit. Tokyo was incredibly contaminated right away. That's never going to go away. The whole country is brutal, right? What do? You evacuate the whole country? Or do you just cover it up and let everybody get sick and die? Because that's what Japan has chose to do. They won't even stop growing food in a nuclear wasteland and shipping it worldwide. These are monsters. These have every attribute you would expect to see in a vicious, spineless, coward, soulless, hideous, evil, monstrous monster. Monster. Let me get through this. There's not too many more. We may not be able to live in Japan someday, but hey, let's get the camera crew together and go into the nuclear wasteland and put some videos up on YouTube so everybody can love me. Radiation is going to be flown out for a long period of time. I feel bad for all the bloggers. We've covered quite a few bloggers over the years, done the same thing. We ignore a hell of a lot more. You just can't keep up with stupid or evil. You can't keep up with it. When it comes to nuclear, there's an abundance of both. We may not be able to live in Japan. Remember the other story, you should leave Tokyo. No, you should leave Japan, all of Japan. You know, if your gas, oil, coal plant, wind, solar breaks down, you don't have to abandon your country for 1 million years. That's a pretty good trade-off, if you ask me. The disgusting of disgusting. This story is insane. The International Degenerate Agency today admitted there's no such thing as a safe level of man-made anthropogenic radiation, that the standards are based on benefits, not safety. There is no benefits to man-made. There's no homeostasis to man-made radiation. There is no safe level on top of that. Your body attacks it for the rest of your life with white blood cells. How do you find a balance in that? And there's no isotope that's man-made that doesn't have that attribute in any species, let alone humans. I got 16 viewers, 17 thumbs up, 21 votes. All of my videos have been just curb stomped. I've been really kicking it the last few days. But these numbers are extraordinary numbers. Right? Hanford was only 129 views. That's an incredible video. Daily Reactor News, that was an amazing video, 126 views. Yesterday was the first time we had the co-host. I got 144 views. Well, like you expect that one to get at least 150. And the current show, I got literally nothing on that one. 16 watching, and I'll show you. And then my numbers won't be visible once the show is over, till about 20 hours. So I got 17 views. If I stop the show now, it says 44 views. But if I stop the show now, I'll end up with about 23 views. On a show I've been doing for over a decade, 5 days a week, and a real subject. I know I'm not the most handsomest person on the planet, or even handsome. I know I got a squeaky voice. I get that. I'm not saying I don't. But like I see people out there that are just wrapping shit on a stick and calling it fertilizer. They'll get 30,000 people on their live show. Yeah, we're just wrapping shit on a stick here. Where did all you folks come from? I don't know. I'm out here showing you, doing, it's not a radio show where you have to take my word for it. I provide you so much information in every show. There really isn't anything like it ever in history, unfortunately, and there's nobody else doing what I'm doing. And the equipment I'm doing is extraordinary equipment. You don't really get to see it too much, but we invested an absurd amount of money in the equipment so we could last and stand the test of times was the hopes, right? And try to educating many people as you can. But they're terrified of anybody having this conversation, and they don't have to worry about it. Nobody's bothering them, only me and you. That's it. And so if they censor us down, we don't look appealing to anybody new to come by. There's only 16 people on his show. I'm not watching that. It's absurd, eh? Highly significant quantities of fission products are flushed into the environment by water used on a molten fuel. Highly significant quantity of fission products. If you put that into a tank, the tank melts down because you got gammas, neutrons, betas, alphas, and fuel particles splitting atoms. That's what's going to happen. So the tanks can't be full of this stuff. Not only that, because you have plutonium and curium, you're guaranteed a meltdown in the tank. Not only that, you won't be able to build another tank in proximity because there's so much radiation per tank. We have the details of the numbers. The numbers are insane per liter. Just hang on a second, and I'll give you just one of the reports that made it out publicly. Maybe. Frog in the throat, and frog in the frog, and frog in the throat, and throat, and frog here tonight. So 1 sievert is a nightmare. 2 sieverts is absurd. And the whole story is absurd anyway. So one of the reports come now. We got all the documentation. We don't have to use these. These are different reports from different medias aggregated. It just makes it a handy, nice big headline for you. 2 sieverts an hour of beta radiation emitted from a single liter of leaked water from the tank. So the tank has 2 sieverts an hour per liter, which is multiple millions of sieverts per tank. We have a lot more information than just one story about that, mind you. We know in Nami, which is 7 kilometers away, children were getting up to a full sievert. This is absurd numbers we're talking about. You know, some of the numbers on the children studies was 13,646 out of 38,200 children with thyroid tumors of 2 centimeters. Their thyroid is only around 2 centimeters anyway. It's just a tumor the size of your thyroid gland. Your thyroid gland is making the hormones for your bodies. So if you got that kind of stuff going on, there's no way you're not producing radioactive stem cells too. So the 2 most important facets of development and growth for all species are hormones and stem cells. And you're not going to, like everybody on the planet now is producing brutal anthropogenic man-made hormones and stem cells, radioactive stem cells, because of 80 years of emission, but Fukushima was a pulse event. TEPCO made Fukushima plant into a machine for generating radioactive water. And this was 2013, they acknowledged this. What that means, though, Like, you got to realize every time you have a cyclone or a typhoon rather come in Japan and washes the whole country, you have absurd amount of radioactive leaves and pollen and everything else getting washed out into the ocean and their freshwater system. These are extraordinary numbers. Concern over plutonium and uranium being deposited, reconcentrated far away. So it's transferred to land via sea spray, aerosols, flooding, rain. Every day there's tens of thousands of miles of rain clouds created over the ocean and brought into your coastlines. When it hits your mountains, it'll lose a bunch of its payload. It'll wash back through your rivers and estuaries and streams to your coastlines. And then it'll lift up and go over it and destroy the other end side of the continent. Curium detection 100 kilometers from Fukushima. Of course it is. And so one of your favorite stories was, well, curium won't go very far because it's a heavy isotope. It's like, what are you talking about? And you say the same thing for plutonium. All the isotopes are the same size. It's not like you put 200 million on the head of a needle, you can't see it. So to suggest that one isotope is heavier than the other, and therefore it won't travel very far. There was a story that came out after 3 Mile Island. One of the apologists actually done a study, and there was an article written about it. And he said you got the same dose, 2 million people around 3 Mile Island got the equivalent dose of watching colored television for an extra year. But you got to realize how complacent people were back then, right? Top government nuke official warned Tokyo may have to be evacuated. Well, not may have to be, you do. Americium-241 decays to plutonium. If I remember correctly, I can't remember it. Just let me look it up very quick here. Why wouldn't I have that at the top of my list? There it is. I'll put it up there. I'm adding bookmarks, right? I'll bring it up on the screen for you, actually. Plutonium. 241 has a half-life of 14 years and decays to americium-241, decays to neptunium-237, decays to... So americium has 435 years, then it's going to decay to neptunium, which has 2.14 million years. And those cycles are nasty, right? What the hell? There's Danas everywhere. That's insane. We're coming to get you. Arr. That's got to be hard on people. That's why when I go to that screen, I'll always do this. I'll do that, and then I'll go over to the other screen because it's not quite as insane as what you what you just ended up seeing. I know Darlene's saying she's trying to put a comment, but it's being blocked again. I don't know. Like if I remove your comment, it'll see it there. It'll say it'll be. I'm gonna remove the again. Watch what happens. Just gonna remove that comment. So when I'm scrolling, if I removed anything, you're gonna see it. Message deleted by Environmentalist, Dana Durnford. And then you can, and then it'll show up, right? But you won't be able to see it on your end. That probably disappeared. Or not, yeah, no, that probably disappeared on your end, but not my end. Yeah, downblending. Downblending was a scam. We talked about this a lot. Downblending is where they mix plutonium with soil, so they say it can't be used again. And then he sent it over to WIP, the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant. But what was really happening is now they're going to reclaim it. So you can actually use it again. It was meant to pacify anybody with a conscience, right? Curium-242, 244, for spontaneous nuclear fission of reactor number 2. Well, what about reactor 3? What about reactor 4? Right, so when they... my throat's a bit dry tonight. Nothing I can do about it. You sue me. There's nothing I can do about it. Just bear with me, though, anyway. So, I'll show you reactor 2. And then I'll show you the other reactors. So they want you to think about reactor 2. I'll get there. They want you to think about reactor 2, right? Well, first off, if you see steam coming out of the ground, just run the opposite way the wind's blowing. Don't ever go back. Don't look back and don't go back. So reactor 2 looks like this. And on one side of reactor 2 is reactor 3. On the other side of it is reactor 4. So right in the middle between reactor 3 and reactor 2 is, or reactor 4 is reactor 2. So you'll never know what's going on with reactor 2 because you got nightmares on both sides of it. $50,000 atoms a kilogram near Tokyo, where children are walking. These are terrifying numbers. We've seen a 29 million per square meter, by the way. Curium-244, you need lead shielding 240 times thicker. Curium isotopes are all man-made, and they're the biggest byproduct of the irradiated fuel, not cesium, not iodines. And you've probably seen the numbers of cesium iodines. They're pretty impressive, right? High concentrations of plutonium and americium. Americium-241 will decay to plutonium-241 in 2.3 days. I mean, 2.5 days. Japanese got a blackout of the words MOX, plutonium, and meltdown. I'm pretty sure they got the word Dana Durnford blocked out too. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. Fukushima radiation harms bees' ability to navigate and forage and communicate. I don't think that's true because it's common knowledge that the bees are all gone, I think, right? I can't see how the bees would lose their navigation when they're already dead. That's hard to argue with that narrative. So why would you do this one? Pokémon Park in Fukushima brings giant support to the nuclear wasteland. I mean, disaster-affected communities. And James actually done a song exactly about that up right there, look, at James Lewis's site. That song, let's play a part of it for something to do. We're here. Nice little party.
Lucky eggs! Lucky
we say oh! Pink slides rising above background levels, recovery banners, a practice tale, parents filming in the gamma shine, what they call delight, daughter products sealed in the fruit supply. Stage for tourists, Fukushima cries, curium waits beneath the play, Fukushima never ran away, never ran away. Curry boxed, fruit from the wasteland, smiles on the label, silence all around.
I love this. Let's keep her going here. 'Cause my throat's going on me. Maybe I should take a break. Yeah, I'll take a break here. Let my throat heal up.
Staged with care, janky, breathe the air. Atoms drift, officials won't speak. Flavor hides the back rolls, what the censors don't see. Bloody lies, stage for tourists. Fukushima cries, curium waits beneath the play. Fukushima never ran away. Never ran away. Lucky. Fukushima never ran away.
That was too much, eh? I love it. He nailed it too. That was awesome. I love it. Ooh. Yeah, whatever. Let's keep her going. Chansey Pokémon Parks in Fukushima brings joy and support to the disaster-affected communities. Fukushima Prefecture has embraced Chansey, the Pokemon known as Lucky in Japanese. The parks were developed to re-energize local communities while attracting visitors. Across Japan, so they want the most vulnerable of society to go there, right? Imagine how sick you gotta be to trick children to go into the nuclear wasteland with something like Pokemon Go, who are just thousands of times more vulnerable than an adult. Imagine how despicable you actually gotta be. Well, oh joy! You got cancer. Oh, Joy, you got cancer, is right. They provided a Pokemon bench seating for parents with children play. Local stores sell Fukushima fruity curry made with peaches, apples, and tomatoes grown in the nuclear wasteland. They're giving the children that are stupid enough to go to Pokemon-themed areas food from the nuclear wasteland. They're in a nuclear wasteland, surrounded by nuclear fallout all day, every day. This industry deserves a prize for being the biggest scumbags in human history. They're literally the worst humans conceivable. Like Koriyama and Nami. Nami is only 7 kilometers away from ongoing, never-ending nuclear meltdowns. And Koriyama City was at over 300,000 atoms per per kilogram. These are lunatics. And they take great pride in staying in these places. And joy. Offer new opportunities for community gathering and joy. Oh, joy! You got cancer and heart problems, and liver problems, and lung problems, and respiratory and pituitary and thyroid and adrenaline problems. Oh, there's so much joy. Just joy. What a wonderful, joyful world. Oh, joy! Oh, joy. Idiot. Uchibori. Fukushima teams up with Calbee to develop new nano snacks after topping the national spending. People are buying food from the nuclear wasteland. These are insane people. Potato chips. Potato chips. What do you think about that? Why don't they just make plutonium potato chips or uranium potato chips or cesium-137 potato chips? And nobody will even know what that stuff will mean anymore. No crap, don't say that to them, man. Uchibori. The government here has launched a project with a major snack maker to develop new products using that recipe after the city reclaimed the title of Japan's top per household spender on the sticky fermented soybeans in 2024. The Fukushima municipal government is recruiting students who know nothing about radiation, nothing about nuclear, who love the nuclear wasteland as project members. They love going after the most vulnerable of society, like the children, because they don't know the difference about radiation. They can be manipulated into thinking that it's like a banana and a potato chip when it's incredibly evil to even suggest that it is. Yeah. No kidding, eh? The city is focused on the popularity of natto and is working to rebrand itself as Fukushima, the city of stupid, the city of cancer. In 2016, Tokyo-based Calbee released potato chips inspired by Fukushima nuclear wasteland's regional dish, squid and carrots. I crave it all the time, personally. Their favorite snack was a big hit, led to the development of local potato chip flavors for all 47 prefectures, starting post-Fukushima in 2017. In 2019, they released another Fukushima regional flavor, squid and carrot. Ugh. So hard not to puke when you read shit like that. The municipal government is recruiting about 10 students who know nothing about anything and connects young people with volunteer activities. Real life monsters we're talking about. The Fukushima Mayor encouraged participants, saying, for the students, that mayor should be in jail for the rest of his life. Second from the right promotes flavored potato chips. Flavored potato chips. To Fukushima Governor Uchibori, one of the worst humans I've ever heard tell of. Uchibori. It's, if you took Pol Pot, Mao, and all the other serial killers of biblical proportions and put them into a big shit sandwich, that's who you probably end up with. That's who Japan now has for quite a few years. The guy's literally a monster in every sense of that word. Yeah, why don't you just call your potato chips the cancer maker or the widow maker or the death machine? Oh, great. Fukushima and nuclear reactors in reactor safety. Asked a chatbot a question. Written by Bernard Spinrad. Spinrad. Does that sound like a fake name to anybody? Spinrad. Talking about nuclear, and you see why. All fact-checked by the editors of the Encyclopaedia Britannica. Oh, that should be interesting, shouldn't it? A failure of the main power line, a loss of backup power at the heart of the second worst nuclear accident in the history of nuclear power. The second worst. After Chernobyl. Well, like, how can Fukushima come second to Chernobyl? How does that actually, where's the logic? Oh, I know. They had the media pretend that they were on top of the building and that building was okay. A partial meltdown. Partial. Meltdown. Partial. Does this look like a partial meltdown to anybody? These were 19-story buildings, 190-foot buildings. Does that look like a 190-foot building to you? Anybody? No? In 2011 at the Fukushima Daiichi, the #1 plant in Japan. Thanks for clarifying that. 2 of the damaged containment buildings. That's the picture they showed you, right? These are not damaged. The buildings don't even exist anymore. If you owned those buildings and your manager sent you a picture and said, I got a bit of damage, would you say you're fired? I don't know. There's another picture they put there. So these Geiger counters go over hugely radioactive people. They need to immediately, the minute that you get a high number, you need to get rid of it, give it back to the factory and get it recalibrated. And the fact that they're wearing paper suits with holes in their hoods and everything else means they're not scientists. Scientists are not going to go into a nuclear wasteland. Madness. So, how can it be a partial meltdown? How does that work? If that's a partial meltdown, heaven help us. Yeah, no kidding. Eh? So, it's fact-checked. Oh, by what? Monsters? It's so far away from being fact-checked. How is this not criminal for them to do that? How is that? How can you go to university and get these degrees just to come out and do that? It was fact-checked. Is that not? Clearly that's fact-checked. Look at it. Fact-checked by the editors. Ask the chatbot. Would you say... So they went into a nuclear meltdown and sealed the reactor cores, did they? This is Encyclopaedia Britannica. Imagine what the chatbots will just regurgitate this stuff. They don't need to pay people now to lie as much anymore, because once AI gets up there, it'll be just so many spins so that the people that committed the crimes that are still alive can never be held accountable, and that's what they're terrified of. Yeah, we should be terrified of it. Rising temperatures within each reactor core eventually caused a partial meltdown. A partial meltdown. In the reactor, storage reactor. What the hell is a storage reactor? Remember, this is fact-checked by Britannica Encyclopedia. An explosion in the outer containment building. Yeah, the outer containment building, eh? These people are calling him insane. Still doesn't really do it justice. The containment was about 100 feet above the stump of reactor 3 in that picture. They show you two pictures, nothing to do with any. Well, no, that's a lie. One of the pictures were the meltdowns caused by a buildup of hydrogen, a buildup of release of radioactive steam into the air. It ejected the reactor core and the fuel pools right out of the buildings. Right out of the buildings. And the leakage of radioactive water into the ocean. That's leakage. Except for the fact that cesium clouds spread over many areas of the capital. Such a high level of radiation near Tokyo and in Tokyo. Oh no, it leaked into the ocean, Dana. And the 130 school closed in South Korea, but there's nothing got out of it. There was less than a gram, right? It's extraordinary. We should be all happy and grateful that it wasn't worse, Dana. Cracks in the foundation of the containment vessel were sealed. Oh, how are you going to seal cracks in these containment vessels? Anybody know? That's Britannica Encyclopaedia, one of the biggest encyclopedia on the entire planet, are out there, fact-checked by them and everything, said there was cracks in the foundation of the containment vessels were sealed. Does anybody know how they done that? Anybody would explain that to me? When the containments are completely gone, and the reactors and the fuel pools, the buildings are completely gone. Like, how did the so-called authority cracks in the foundation? Just like, do you got anything on this? Personally, there should be cracks in their friggin' heads for reading stuff like that. It's outrageous. Encyclopaedia Britannica, the very last place you want your children to ever go and visit. It's absurd. No kidding. It is absurd. Cracks in the foundation. Cracks in the foundation. Thank goodness nothing got out of that. Holy crap. That's why I like these nuclear reactors. They're indestructible. What the hell is wrong with these people? What's wrong with this planet sitting in silence? Do you really think they're telling these types of lies everywhere because you're not being affected and everybody you love is not being affected worldwide? Everybody's affected and every species. This is ludicrousness. Yeah, no kidding. Isn't that just ludicrousness? It's danger. We're all in danger because of this industry now. And irradiated cooling water began to be pumped to a storage building until it could be properly treated. Oh, they just love you so much, yeah? They were pumping water, the irradiated water, to storage buildings to store it. The reality of it was they ran away and abandoned the site because you had reactor cores eject the fuel pools and the reactor cores right out of the buildings. That's reactor 3 behind me, and same with the explosion. But at what point does Britannica get held accountable for these types of lies? And he says, pointing out the human errors. Wait, now, let me go backwards. Ask the chatbot. Can you imagine the lies that thing is going to spew? The weak link in the Fukushima accident seemed upon immediate observation. The plants were not designed to handle the natural disaster that took place. Fault can be found in the design process. Errors once again as the most failure-prone components in the nuclear. Potentiation. 12, 14 reactors, cores at the top of the buildings, depending on their age. How long before another building goes with six or seven? Older spent cool. Just let me back this up a second. No release. No the shit. And you get 7 or 6 reactor cores. Now the problem was, in Japan and everywhere else, you don't have a repository. And so the fuel pools are stuffed with decades of reactors. Basically, spent fuel more densely than original. But they change rules and they put the same reactor behind the same exact same size of identical. Behind the same exact size of identical. As fuel tube, because they don't as fuel tube, because they don't have plutonium and uranium don't have plutonium and uranium 235 in the spent fuel. 235 in the spent fuel. What it means to reduce. Reduces the activity recycling X oxide. And job ambitious instructions. Dates of the physics. My video stalled. Because I got the youth. At that point, you can speed now.